So carbon and its compounds. So obviously star of the show is carbon. First thing, why is carbon important? Like, why are we studying specifically a chapter about carbon and not like sodium and its compounds? Or
Because it exists in a lot of forms, like allotropes of carbon.
sulfur and phosphorus also exist as allotropes. But what is special about carbon that no other element can take its place? Raghav said nutrition is based on carbon. That's a part of it, Raghav. Like, you're getting close on those lines. But
Ma'am, anything we consume or we require is based on carbon. So that's why carbon is important to us.
carbon
know why
is
I
quite
did
important, yes. But why is our food predominantly carbon? Like, why don't we just like take a piece of metal and eat on it? Why do we need carbon for food? Aditya said organic chemistry, that is like this particular branch of chemistry is organic, but why should this exist as a separate branch? Like, why can't we study it along with the rest of the things? I would suggest, Raghav, take your thought further. Like, rest of you also think on those lines. Why is it that whatever we eat has carbon in it? Like, why is carbon important when it comes to food? And another hint is in the name, what Aditya mentioned, organic chemistry. Naam organic kahan se aaya? Why do we call it organic chemistry? Focus on those 2 points. Vasudha says Earth's crust has some carbon in the form of minerals. Correct, you have carbonates, but you also have aluminium as minerals, iron minerals. What's special about carbon that we need to study? Like, you don't have a chapter about other elements, right? Why specifically carbon? Any try? Rishita? Rishna?
Ma'am, can it be because it's mostly because that it exists in our environment naturally. So organic, when you say that even the plants, they are made up of carbon based, they rely on carbon based molecules. So
Yes.
that's why.
Close. Environment, everything is natural. Like, anything is made of nature only. But Vasudha has given the answer that I was looking for. Every single living organism is made out of carbon. That includes humans like you and me. That is the reason the food that we eat is all carbon based, because we ourselves are made of carbon. So hamare, if you want your own building blocks, you're built out of carbon. So, in order to grow, repair, maintain, you need to take in more carbon. So every single living organism, like life itself, is a carbon based, like we are a carbon based life form, right from bacteria, viruses, all the way to all the animals and fish and whales and everything is made of carbon. And you can see, like Rishita has mentioned about plants and animals, and then you have microbes. You have a lot of different types of organisms, right? Like, but all of them are made out of the same elements, carbon, plus a little bit of hydrogen and oxygen. But the backbone is all carbon. So carbon forms this wide variety of compounds, and not just living organisms, but even plastics are carbon. Like, wherever you see plastic, that has carbon in it. PVC pipes, right? Paper is all carbon. Again, that's coming from trees. So that's obviously that. Petroleum products, petrol, diesel, kerosene, waxes, your Vaseline, all of that is carbon. So that's like a wide variety of like not just organisms, but wide variety of things, right? Right from gases, solids, liquids with different properties. So carbon is capable of forming many different types of compounds, forms many compounds. But most importantly, that is the whole reason it's called organic chemistry, because life or organisms are made out of carbon. That's why it's called organic chemistry. That's where that word comes from. So organic is related to life. That's why you have organism and words like that. Same root. Okay. So that is the whole reason why we are studying about the chemistry of carbon. Chemistry, matlab, how it reacts, what sort of reactions, how it behaves. Let's say if you put it in water, if you put it in different solution, if you heat it up, what happens? Just the behavior of what happens to it in different situations. Okay. Now, because you have a lot of different compounds of carbon, we need to, like, we can't just pick one at random and start studying one by one. So this is itself is a whole branch of chemistry, right? So that is the reason the compounds of carbon are divided into different categories. So on what basis are they divided and all of that, we'll look at that today. Okay. The first part, before we get to carbon ke compounds, let's look at how carbon exists naturally. First of all, introduction to carbon. Symbol is C. What is the atomic number?
8.
Huh?
6.
6.
6.
6. Abhi, don't be confused. 8 किसका है?
Oxygen.
हाँ. And electronic configuration?
2,
4.
4.
2,
Correct. What is the atomic mass?
12.
12 is correct. Okay. Now, when we look at the chemical properties, you need to, like, all of the chemical properties comes from the electronic configuration. So based on this, what sort of compounds does carbon form?
Covalent compound.
Only
Covalent.
Correct. Do you find any ionic form of carbon?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because it will be highly unstable.
That is right. So if we had to elaborate a little bit, so carbon cannot form ionic compounds because, again, you need to look at what are the possibilities. So ions, matlab, it can either be a cation or it can be an anion. Carbon का अगर cation form करना है, how can carbon form a cation? Like, what does carbon have to do to get a cation out of it?
Should give electrons.
Should lose electrons, correct.
Yeah.
So if carbon has to form a cation, in this case, because it has 4 electrons, it will have to lose 4 of its valence electrons. If it loses the 4 valence electrons, two reasons why this is not possible. One, it takes a really it takes a lot of energy to be able to remove those electrons in the first place. And okay, let's say you have access to energy, you used your electricity, whichever, you are able to remove that. So despite that, the end product is going to be highly unstable. So in order to take, why does it require high energy? Think about it. So carbon has 4 electrons, right? You have the nucleus, and then this is the valence shell, it's got 4 electrons. Nucleus mein, how many protons does carbon have? How many protons will you expect carbon nucleus mein? 6 protons, yes. And originally valence shell mein it has these 4 electrons. Now these 6 protons are pulling on 4 electrons. You take away one of these electrons, you'll be left with more positive charge. So will the force on the remaining electrons increase or decrease?
Ma'am, it will increase.
It's going to increase. A lot of, initially it was balanced. Slowly positive charge is increasing. Like, let's say they're balanced. Positive charge is like increasing, pulling on the negative charge. So would it be easier or more difficult to pull out these remaining electrons?
Difficult.
Yeah, so with each step, it's going to get more and more difficult to take these electrons. So that's how you end up requiring a hell lot of energy to be able to create the cation. And second, once you create it also, it's going to be highly unstable. The other alternative is to, if carbon has to form an anion. How do you get an anion?
But we gain electrons.
It needs to gain electrons. To form like a stable compound, like or stability ke liye, how many electrons does carbon need to gain?
4.
4.
Noble gas configuration, 8 electrons ke liye needs to gain 4 more electrons. So in this case also the same situation happens. It's going to be really, really unstable because again, there's going to be electronic repulsions and 6 positive charge with 8 negative charge, like eventually it's going to be 10 electrons, right? That's a large amount of difference in charge. It's going to be unstable. Like these 6 protons will be unable to hold on to this 10 electrons. So that's why the best bet for carbon is to form covalent compounds. What are covalent compounds? How do you get covalent compounds?
Ma'am, by sharing of electrons.
Sharing of electrons.
Correct. So basically when 2 elements share electrons and that's how they form the molecule, you get covalent compounds. This we have already done a little bit in like previously a few months ago. And since you guys said you'd done this in class also, we'll do like a quick revision of this, okay? Some examples of covalent, like if you, let's start with the simplest covalent compound molecule, hydrogen molecule. How many atoms does a molecule of hydrogen contain?
2.
2, correct. So that's why we write it as H2. If any number subscript mein hai, it means that, okay, there is a covalent bond between them. They are part of the molecule, okay? So they're not 2 random atoms of hydrogen. They are 2 atoms of hydrogen that are bonded to each other. They have a chemical bond between them. Okay. How many electrons are these 2 atoms of hydrogen sharing? Like what sort of a bond can you find between them?
Single covalent.
A single covalent bond.
Single covalent bond is correct. So hydrogen electronic configuration is 1. So if this is an atom of hydrogen, it has 1 electron with it. This is another atom of hydrogen, it has another electron. So both of them, like in order to attain stability, they share their single electron and this is the covalent bond form. So if you consider this particular hydrogen atom, it's got 2 electrons, full shell, helium ka configuration. And if you consider this one, again, 2 electrons, full shell, helium ka configuration. So this sort of a representation where you show the electrons with dots or crosses, this is called Lewis representation. Lewis dot notation. Basically, Lewis representation is the name for this. Another way to represent bonds is by using lines. A single line represents a single bond, and always that means it's 1 pair of electrons, like 2 electrons is a single bond. So similarly, if you have a double bond, it means 2 pairs of electrons are being shared. and it's represented by 2 lines. Similarly, you have triple bond. Okay. If you want to figure out how to figure out what bonds are there, like if you want to figure out the structure of a molecule, there are just 2 rules that you need to follow, for covalent bonds. One rule is that both atoms share the same number of electrons. So यहाँ पे this hydrogen is sharing 1 electron. That's why this also will share only 1 electron. You will never have 3 electrons in a bond. Okay, electrons are always there in pairs. Either they are bonded pairs or they are lone pairs. And pairs, because all the atoms participating in the covalent bond, they share the same number of electrons. Double bond mein hi, because one atom is giving 2 electrons, the other one also gives 2 electrons. Okay, so you need to ensure that same number of electrons are coming from both the different atoms. And second is the octet rule. The whole reason for sharing electrons is so that they can have a fully filled valence shell. Fully filled valence shell matlab, how many electrons do elements usually need to have?
8.
Yeah. So when you count after the bond, each atom should have 8 electrons total. The only exception is hydrogen, which needs to have 2 electrons. And that's because it has only the first shell. Remaining, whichever element you take, they need to have 8 electrons. Chlorine, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, whichever. Okay. So just follow these 2 rules, ensure that you're not breaking them, and you'll be able to figure out the structure. Okay. You guys, do you have your notes from the previous session with you?
Yes, ma'am.
So have you like noted? I would suggest go over it, keep revising as we're discussing this. You can make any additional points that you might have missed out earlier. Make some additional notes if something is not clear. And if anything is missing, if you're not able to understand any part, stop me and let me know, and we'll go over it in more detail. Okay. How many of you have your notes with you? Like Aditya answered. What about the rest of you? Okay, Bhavika says she has it. Who else? Vasudha, oh, you didn't, did you lose it, or you didn't note down last time? Okay, Abir is also making it right now. Acha, Jasmine has it. How many of you are making the notes like right now? Raise your hand or put it in the chat. Abir and Vasudha have mentioned. Abhishek also, okay? Aditya Valekar, Deshna. Okay, Tanisha. Okay, Sarah has it. Okay. Ananya, but you just said you have your notes, right? Are you making it again?
Yes, ma'am. I'm making it. I'm adding more points also.
Adding and all, okay. Okay, so if you guys are making it, if I'm going too fast or something, let me know. Then I'll give you guys enough time to note things down. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So just now for practice, okay, those who have already have notes, you would already know it. Just for practice, I'll give you guys 3-4 compounds. Figure out the structure. Send it to me on you can send it on the group so that I can check your structure, and we'll go ahead based on that. Okay. hydrogen discuss कर लिया, oxygen, nitrogen and all we've done it earlier. If anyone wants a revision of it, let me know, otherwise I'll just move forward. CCl4, since we're doing organic compounds. So this is carbon tetrachloride. Do you guys want help? Like, do you want me to discuss and do it on the board, or will you guys attempt it yourself? Guys?
We can try it once.
Okay. Try it. Figure it out yourself. If you're stuck, you're not getting it, then I'll do it over here. Okay. So draw the structure, send it on the group, and I'll check it. Send it on WhatsApp. CCl4 is 1. Do HCN. HCN, I know I'd given it last time. A couple of you had attempted it, got it also properly, but everybody like try it and send it. This is cyanide. And the third one is chloroform. So chloroform ka formula is CHCl3. Yeah. So draw the structures for these 3 compounds, and yeah. Neil is also here. Quite a few of you joined much later after I started the thing. Are you all following? Agar, if any doubt, you guys have any doubt, you missed out on anything, let me know, okay? What happened? No one's drawn it yet. So are you drawing all 3 and sending them together, or are you going to send one by one?
Together, ma'am.
Together, Ajay. Okay. How many done?
Sending the picture, ma'am.
Okay. So Aditya has sent it. Carbon tetrachloride. Okay, that is correct. Cyanide.
I just noticed the mistake, ma'am, in cyanide.
Huh. Send it again. Yeah. And chloroform. Yeah, octet complete नहीं हो रहा है इनका. Chloroform also, you got it. Nice. Cool. Got it pretty much. Cyanide, yeah, correct it and send it. So Aditya has sent it. What about the rest of you? Where you guys at? कितना आया? कहाँ पे हो? Abhishek, Abir, Aditya Velekar, Amey.
I did the first one, but I'm doing the second.
Okay. So I'll give you a hint. Usually, if you want to figure out ki kis tarah ka bond, like what is going on here, first step, start off with the electronic configuration. So carbon tetrachloride mein you have carbon and chlorine, right? You have 4 of these chlorines. Abhi carbon ka configuration is 2,4 and chlorine is 2,8,7. 2,4 matlab how many more electrons does carbon need stability ke liye?
4.
4 more electrons. And how many does chlorine need?
1.
1 electron. So how can you arrange carbon and chlorine? Like they basically have to share electrons. So how many electrons can carbon share and how can it share with these 4 chlorine atoms so that all of them have 8 electrons? Yeah. So carbon needs 4 and there are 4 chlorines. So that should give you a hint. So if carbon shares its 4 electrons with each of these chlorine atoms, it becomes like so carbon ka 8 has been this thing and then fill up the remaining with chlorine ke electron. So 1 is already here. So 7 may say 1 electrons here. So remaining 6 will also exist here. So yahan se you can also figure out another clue. So how many ever electrons are required, no? That atom will form those many bonds. Now because carbon needs 4 electrons, hamesha whatever compound carbon is in, it needs to have 4 different bonds. Can be either 4 single bonds or 2 plus 2, 2 double bonds, like whatever it is, it needs to have 4 lines around it. Similarly, chlorine, because it needs only one electron, it needs to have one line around it, whichever compound it exists in. This is like universal. Okay. So you can see here, so carbon has its 8 electrons, its original 4 that are in black, and these red electrons from chlorine. And each of these chlorines also 7 of its original electron plus the black one from carbon. So all the atoms have 8 electrons, all of them are happy. Yeah, so because they're sharing only one electron each, this would be the structure for CCl4, it's carbon with chlorine on 4 sides. So you have 4 single bonds here. Okay. So similarly, you can also figure it out for cyanide. So there's H, C, and N. Write the electronic configuration. H is 1, C is 2, 4, and N is 2, 5. So this needs 1 electron, this needs 4 electrons, and this needs 3 electrons. Based on this, you can figure. Who is this? Okay, Aditya. Corrected cyanide ka this thing. Cool. So this is good roughly, but when you're presenting your final answer, in case you happen to have subjective thing, always pair up the electrons. So whatever electrons are shared, they need to be paired up. Okay. So this is good, like you're working it out roughly ki kis tarah ka bond hai and all of that, but end may draw it neatly. Jasmine, I have received yours also. You sent in all 3. CCl4, yes, correct. HCN also you got it. And chloroform also you got it. Nice. Well done. Quite neat also. Group A, Rishita, yes, I have received yours. CCl4, yes. HCN, yes, very neat. So Aditi, if you can see Rishita's representation, like what she sent on the group, it needs to look like that. Like all the electron needs to be present in pairs. And you got CHCl3 also. All correct. Good. So Rishita, Jasmine, Aditya have gotten it. Rest of you also send quickly. First CCl4 to yahi pe kar liya. So based on this, figure out the others also. Amay, Neil, Ritvik, Vishna, Vasudha, they're sending.
Yes, ma'am, sending 1 minute.
What about you guys? Abhishek, Ryan, Aditya Velekar, Bhavika.
I'm just completing the last one.
Okay. Yeah, Sarah, I received from you. This is chloroform. First one is CCl4, okay. HCN, yes, and chloroform also. You got it. Nice. Correct. This is okay. So, Abir, when you're showing sharing of electrons, na, okay, if you've written it for your understanding, okay, the way you put CCl4, don't do it that way. Like the way you put HCN, that is fine. So if you're showing electrons, show the electrons. Otherwise, show lines. Don't put both in the same diagram. That gets confusing. Especially don't put arrows because that represents another type of bond. Like the way you have ionic bond, covalent bond, there's something called coordinate bond. So arrows basically represents that too. I can see you've only used it in that one. So I think it's, if you've done it for your understanding, it's fine. Otherwise don't. Chloroform ke isme, like CHCl3 mein you put an arrow. So covalent bond, you don't have arrows. Like it's just single lines like this. Because if you use arrows, that has a different meaning. You don't put arrows.
Okay.
But otherwise, in terms of number of electrons and all, okay, it's just the presentation part of it. And another thing, whenever you have shared pair of electrons, no, put it on the same side. Like one of the things you put carbon ka electron here and hydrogen ka electron here, and then you drew a circle, which doesn't make sense because they're literally sharing the electrons. So when you share it, you're not gonna hold it away from that other person, right? This electron needs to be over here, needs to be between the two atoms. Again, it's the way you denote it so that there's no confusion when the other person is looking at it. Just take care of those things. Okay, who is this? Ananya. Okay. Okay, CCl4, yes. HCN, yes. Okay. Molecule shape and all is correct, Ananya. It's just that circle did not encircle like all 8 electrons. But that's okay. A lot of electrons. CHCl3 also, you got it. Nice. This is correct. HCN is also correct. And CHCl3 also, 4 is correct. Who is this? Deshna. Deshna received from me also. Absolutely right. And Bhavika also sent it. CCl4, HCN. Okay. And CHCl3 also. Nice. Bhavika was very neat, very clear. Good stuff. HCN and CHCl3. Yes. Correct. This is Vasudha. Okay. Received from you also, yeah. So that takes a little bit of like practice because it depends on how you like circling and the neatness and all. Like once you get the hang of the concept, after that you can focus on presenting it neatly. Fine. Cool. Who else is yet to send? Ananya, I got. Abir, I got. Ryan Gandhi. What's going on? Abhishek Trivedi, Aditya Verlikar, Ritvik Vishal, Neil, and Amay. So 6 of you have not received from you yet. What is going
I
on?
don't know how to do it.
इतना टाइम के बाद पहले ही बताना चाहिए ना. Okay, so we'll do hydrogen. Ritvik, did you understand CCl4?
Yes, ma'am. CSC is, yeah, the CCl4 I got. I'm not able to do this.
Okay, HCN, no? So this is the electronic configuration. Hydrogen requires 1 electron, carbon requires 4, nitrogen requires 3. Now, how will you make them share the electrons so that all of them get these required number of electrons? So, पहले figure out what should be the central atom तीनों में से. Center में कौन सा होना चाहिए? And then the other two will be on the other side. Ritvik?
Hydrogen?
Hydrogen. तो अगर hydrogen
No, ma'am. Carbon.
Correct. So carbon will be in the center and hydrogen, nitrogen will be on the other side. Now we need to figure out कैसे bonding होएगा. Okay. Now with hydrogen, it's always pretty easy. Hydrogen has only 1 electron requirement. It always forms a single bond. इसका एक ही electron जो है, it's gonna share that and be done. Now the other atom also should give equal number. तो carbon का एक electron इधर आ जाए. Okay. So hydrogen is full. That's complete. So 4 में से 1 is shared with hydrogen. So remaining carbon needs 3 more electrons. It has 3 electrons to share. And nitrogen has its 5 electrons. It needs to share 3. तो कार्बन नाइट्रोजन के बीच में किस तरह का बॉन्ड होगा फिर? कितने इलेक्ट्रॉन्स शेयर कर सकते हैं कार्बन एंड नाइट्रोजन इन ऑर्डर टू फुलफिल देयर थिंग? Ritvik? Will it be fine if carbon shares 1 electron and nitrogen shares 1 electron? And remaining will be here. Is this fine? Is this correct? Is this complete?
Nitrogen has 7 ma'am.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 7, but only the valence shell will take part in the bonding. So 5 electrons ही होगा, whatever is involved in chemical bonding.
Okay.
So इसलिए it needs 3 more. 5 plus 3, 8 पाने के लिए needs 3 more. तो अगर मैंने एक ही इलेक्ट्रॉन शेयर करवाया between carbon and nitrogen, तो is the octet rule fulfilled? Like दोनों के पास 8 electrons है क्या अभी? Yes, no, क्या हो रहा है? What do you think?
I don't think so.
You can think so, nahi, you can literally count and figure. So nitrogen has its original 5 and carbon ka shared plus 1, 6 ho gaya. But 6 is not equal to 8, no? So 8 electrons not fulfilled. So let me make them share 2 electrons instead. So carbon का second electron and nitrogen का second electron. तो अभी दोनों के पास कितने इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है टोटल? 8 आया क्या अभी तक?
Oh, ma'am, I think.
तो 8 आने के लिए how many do these two need to share?
I think 3.
3 electrons, yes. So let's make them share 3 electrons each. So now count how many electrons each of them have. Carbon has 2 plus 3, 5 of its own, plus extra 3 from nitrogen. 5 plus 3, 8 electrons. So carbon is filled and nitrogen has 2 of its own, plus 3, 5, like its own electrons, 5, plus 3 extra shared electrons from carbon, so 8 electrons. There you go. Nitrogen के पास भी 8 है, carbon के पास भी 8. So HCN का structure.
Okay, ma'am.
C, triple bond N, single bond H. Yeah. So complete chloroform also similarly and send it. Whoever has lost or does not have the previous notes, you guys, I'll give you guys a list of compounds. Do all of them, revise it. Even the others can do it. Try not to see the previous notes and revise it again on your own. Okay, covalent bonding ka. So do it for oxygen. Abhi nahi, after the class. Just do a quick revision before we continue it tomorrow session. So do oxygen, O2, N2, water, carbon dioxide, ammonia, and what other compounds? HCl, hydrochloric acid. Yeah, so do it for all of these. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 50 यहाँ पे मतलब 6 compounds. So after class, this will be your homework. So practice drawing the covalent structure for N10, methane also, CH4. So all of these will be for homework. If you want, I'll send it on the group also as a reminder after the class. But practice drawing the structure for all of these. Anywhere you are stuck, let me know, because this is kind of important. You need to be able to, you need to know the structure becomes, like chemistry in general becomes much easier. Get the hang of it. Okay. I will check the submissions tomorrow. And yeah, then subsequent classes we can revise depending on how much you guys have got this. Okay. All right. Ryan, like whoever has not sent it, Neil, Ryan, Aditya Verlekar, Amey Sonkhaskar, you guys, I will check your submission for all 10 compounds case structures. Okay. Make a note of it, practice it, and send it. Abhishek Trivedi, you also. Aditya, in case you're trying to speak, I'm not able to hear you. Check your mic connection. Yeah?
I just said, okay.
It's not audible clearly, Aditya.
No.
It's a little muffled.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, a little better, yes.
No, I wasn't saying anything actually. I was just acknowledging it.
Sorry, what? Or just, can you send it on chat? And restart your mic once because it's very muffled, not able to hear properly. Also, is anyone in Jaden's class? Does anyone know Jaden? Where is he? What happened to him? No one knows Jaden here. No? Okay. All right. But yeah, 10 compounds should be there in your submissions. I will check it tomorrow. Do it today, send it off. Okay, just this much. This will be your work for today. We'll resume with the chapter. Next, we're talking about carbon, right? Like one carbon forms covalent compounds, okay. But before we get to compounds of carbon, how does carbon exist in nature on its own? Elemental carbon. How does it, where can you find carbon? What does it exist as? Yeah, Vasudha says diamond, correct. Where else, how else can you find pure carbon? Good. Some of you are remembering it. That is correct. Diamond is one form, graphite is another. This, all of you have seen it, all of you have used it. This is what is there in your pencils. And a bunch of others. You have coal and all of that. And another important form is called Buckminster fullerene. C60, correct. Yeah. So these three forms of carbon, like these three forms, they are called individually, like the way an element exists in nature is called
Allotrope.
correct. So these three are said to be allotropes of carbon. These are specifically allotropes of carbon. So in general, it's not like every element has only one form. A lot of elements have multiple forms. The way carbon has, diamond is one form, graphite is one form, fullerene is another form. That way, sulfur also, you have two different forms of sulfur. Phosphorus also, I don't know how many of you must have heard it, but you have red phosphorus and white phosphorus, right? So all these, like whenever an element exists in different forms, those forms are individually called allotropes. So allotropes specifically of carbon, you have diamond, graphite, and Buckminster fullerene. Okay. How much do you guys remember about diamond and graphite? How do they differ? What goes on? Like, why are they different? Why is diamond like so shiny?
Diamond is the hardest natural substance.
That is correct. But where is that difference coming from? Graphite is basically black, soft, like you can literally write with it. Diamond is hardest, as Abir said, it's white and shiny, it's bright, transparent. Why such a stark difference? Vasudha says different type of shape of bonding. Correct, it's in the bonding of carbon itself, like how it bonds with itself. Jasmine says their structure, that is correct. Can any of you elaborate on it? What structure does diamond have? What structure does graphite have? Yeah, Vasudha has given the exact structure names also, good. Rishita has also got it. Yeah, Ananya, go ahead.
Ma'am, diamond has a 3-dimensional structure and graphite has a hexagonal added something.
Close. But what type of 3D structure? Like cube is 3D, cuboid is 3D. That way, what structure does diamond have? So there's a specific name for that shape. Aditya also got it. Remembers it. Jasmine, yeah, Jasmine and Vasudha, you guys have already sent your answer. That is correct. So that particular shape is called a tetrahedron. Okay. So diamond में carbon has something called tetrahedral structure. Okay. So again, clue is in the name. Carbon forms 4 bonds, right? 4 electrons, valency is 4. 4 bonds need to be formed. Tetrahedron is a structure that has like 4 sides, 4 edges. So in general, tetrahedron basically it's a triangular pyramid. Like you guys know what a pyramid looks like, no? So pyramids of Giza, base is a square, but instead of a square, if you took a triangle and then you build a pyramid out of it, like this. So this kind of a structure is a tetrahedron. So in diamond, what happens is you have a carbon at the center, and then carbon has 4 bonds, and 4 bonds, the end or edges of these 4 bonds, it forms a tetrahedron. So here you can see the 3D image of what the structure of diamond looks like. It's a little confusing because there's a lot of atoms. Let me get a good angle on it. You can see it's all, because this is diamond, every single atom is carbon, so all of them are gray. Okay, focus on one of the end atoms, something on the edge. So focus on this particular atom. Yeah, look at this particular atom highlighted. This one. Okay. Just follow it. It might change its position if I rotate it. So this atom is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms. So if you see carefully, bond number 1, bond number 2, bond number 3, and the 4th one is behind because it's a 3D structure. It's not clearly visible. So all 4 of them, it's not exactly a perfect cube or a cuboid. Like here, it's even more clearer. You can see that it's not a perfect 90-degree angle. So if you take these 4 atoms, connect all of their edges, you'll get something called a tetrahedron. So if this is the base, triangular base, forms a pyramid with that triangle this way. Okay. So this is like a general rule of chemistry. Whenever you have 4 single bonds, its shape basically ends up being a tetrahedron. So diamond has a tetrahedral structure. Okay. Does it kind of make sense, you guys? Like, is it visible? Are you able to see it, or is it really hard and confusing? So anyway, this is diamond. Graphite, on the other hand, has 2D structure. Like diamond is 3D. Oh, this is good. So zoomed in, you can see how regular and how rigid it is. And because you can't move any atom easily, diamond ends up becoming like the hardest known natural substance. When it comes to graphite, So that was diamond. This is graphite. So you can see graphite is formed of these individual layers. So each layer is flat, it's like a sheet, and which is why we end up saying graphite has a 2D hexagonal structure, diamond has a 3D tetragonal structure. That's where your 2D, 3D is coming from. But knowing those shapes is more important. Like always associate diamond matlab tetrahedron, graphite matlab these layers, and each layer mein kya ho raha hai. So you can see each layer, focus on this part. Top layer, ye wala part. If I map each carbon atom, 1 bonded to this, 4, 5, 6. So these 6 carbon atoms are basically forming a hexagonal structure. See? So usually whenever atoms form hexagonal structure in any situation, like if it's this kind of bond they are forming, ends up being like a flat structure. So that's why we associate graphite with hexagonal this thing. It's basically like a honeycomb kind of thing. If you look at it. Yeah. So diamond, you saw it was like a 3D network of tetragonal structure. Graphite is made of individual sheets, like layers, and each of these layers, what are these layers formed? Their layers are formed by carbon atoms bonded in a hexagonal structure. So each carbon atom is bonded to 3 other carbon atoms. Carbon ke valence shell mein 4 electrons hai. So the 4th electron is free to move between these layers. So that's where the 4th electron exists. And that's how these layers are also being held together. Okay, so the layers are held together by something called van der Waals forces. And these are very weak forces, which is why the layers can like slip against each other, which is why you can write using a graphite pencil. Like that's why you use it in pencils. If this property was not there, then you'd have to find alternates, like graphite would not be useful for that. Okay. So this is graphite made up of layers, and because the 4th electron is free to move between these layers, graphite ends up being a good conductor. But diamond, it doesn't have any free electrons, so diamond is a non-conductor. Graphite has, like each atom has 1 free electron that roams around between these layers. So that's why it's a good conductor of electricity. Okay. Okay. So the main difference between diamond graphite comes from their structure, and all the other differences, diamond being hard, graphite being soft, non-conductor, conductor, like everything, every use, every property that you find of diamond and graphite happens, or it's there because of how their solid structure is.
Is graphite a conductor of heat too?
It can conduct heat, yes. It's not as good as metals and all, but graphite can conduct heat. It's a good conductor of electricity because of the free electron. That's more significant. It can conduct heat, like it's not a complete insulator, but it's not like a very good conductor of heat. Here. Cool. So makes sense. Differences between diamond graphite. Like I would suggest go over the notes that you've taken last time. Just have a quick revision of it. If there's any specific point that you are not able to follow, any new word that you don't know the meaning of, anything, let me know. I'll go over that. Otherwise, this is all mainly theory. So I would say, like, just read through it, revise it, and then you'll be able to get it. The main thing is just being aware or familiar with this sort of structure. Like, what is the difference in the structure? It's a diamond. You can see it's all like a continuous network. This crystal. And buckyball, this is like a more recent, what do you say, discovery, this form of carbon. It's literally called buckyball because it's ball shaped. That's it, Buckminster Fuller. And it's called C60 because each ball contains 60 atoms of carbon. And again, no free electrons. This is, I don't think this is a conductor. It's non-polar. Yeah. Again, it's not hard because it's again like individual molecules. It's not like that where it's a continuous network. There are a few other forms, like you have carbon nanotube. These are again derived from graphite itself. And again, these are all, it's not naturally occurring. This is something that researchers are trying to find or, like trying to create because of various uses. The carbon nanotubes, they're supposed to be like really, really strong. So researchers are looking into, can we use it for, cables, ropes, high strength applications, things like that. Yeah, but yeah, naturally occurring, you have diamond, graphite, and C60 is another allotrope. So another derivative of graphite is graphene. So that's like, again, individual layer of graphite. Again, because it is made of a single layer, it's supposed to be really, really strong material that you get carbon nanotubes out of. Cool. Should we go to the next part? Like, you guys noted it? Yes, any questions, any doubts so far? Following? Should we go to the next part, or is there anything you want to ask? Hello?
No questions.
Questions? Okay. All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. All right. These are allotropes of carbon. Now let's go to compounds of carbon. So carbon compounds, we already mentioned that carbon forms an extremely wide range of carbon compounds, right? How is it capable of doing so much? Like, why don't we have that sort of situation with oxygen or fluorine or nitrogen or any of the metals? What makes carbon capable of, being so versatile? So it can form. Have you guys come across this word, versatile?
Yes.
Okay. So if anyone has not heard of this word before, let me know, but otherwise, yeah. So what makes carbon so versatile? Versatile meaning like basically an all-rounder. So two properties of carbon, responsible for that. One, some of you have already started mentioning in the chat. Carbon has this property of catenation. And the second reason is the tetravalency of carbon. We'll see how each one comes into picture. First, catenation. This is a new word that's introduced like in this chapter only. What do you mean by catenation? Let's see how many of you remember it.
The property of self-linking of atoms.
Yes, self-linking, but that's not complete. Like even oxygen is self-linking, forms O2, it forms ozone. Chlorine also has Cl2. But to what?
Self-linked chains.
Self-linking of an element by covalent bonds to form like so many different. So it can form either a long chain, it can form a branched chain, or even a ring structure. So it shouldn't be restrictive. So carbon is capable of forming covalent bond. We just saw that it is like it forms exclusively covalent bond only. It forms these covalent bonds with itself, like that's a self-linking nature. And through these self-links, it can form really long chains. Like think of your hair, like you are made of carbon atoms, right? Along with others, but mainly carbon. So long chains like hair, think of cotton threads, fibers, really long chains. Or it can form branched chains, or it can also form a ring structure. Not a lot of elements can do all of this. In fact, there is no other element that can stably form these many different types of compounds. Silicon comes a close second, which is why you have these quartz crystals, glass, and all of that. But anything that's like pretty big, which does not break down easily, if you find it in nature, it more often than not, it is definitely carbon. Okay. So carbon has this property of catenation. Catenation means, so for catenation, these are like the three important points you need to make note of. One, self-linking. It should form bonds with its own self. Like if you compare that with oxygen or chlorine or hydrogen, they come at the end of the chain. Like chlorine, hydrogen, they're capable of forming only a single bond. So that's it. It's not like they can form a chain. They're always at the end. And oxygen also is pretty unstable. Like it would rather form double bond. If it forms single bonds, again, it's in the middle of a carbon chain or something. It won't do it with its own self. Covalent bond, that's where it differs from metals. Like metals also you can find like really big sheet of metal, but they are just there as solid state. It's held by the sea of electrons. They don't have covalent bond. That's why we don't call that as catenation. So it's self-linking by covalent bond. And this is like the most important part. So to form, capable of forming either long or branch chains or even ring structure. So it should be capable of forming these wide variety of structures. Okay. Next is tetravalency. Now, what do you mean by tetravalency?
Valency of 4.
That is correct. Again, quite obvious, tetra, 4, valency. So now because carbon has a valency of 4, it can, like it has options. It can fulfill that valency in many different ways. So one, carbon can form all single bonds, or carbon can form double bonds, or carbon can form triple bonds. So very rarely you would find any other element that is capable of doing all of this. In addition, you also have carbon like this. This is what you see in carbon dioxide. See, so only condition for carbon is that valency of 4 needs to be fulfilled. It doesn't care how it is fulfilling. So ends up forming all different kinds of bonds. And because it has the capability of forming single, double, triple, all different types of bonds, ends up bonding with any non-metal that you find. So you'll find carbon compounds with hydrogen, with nitrogen, with oxygen, with halogens, with sulfur, with phosphorus. Like any non-metal you take, carbon will have a compound with it. Okay. Speaking of, like usually whenever you come across X का मतलब है halogens. Do you guys know what halogens are? Have you come across it before? Have you come across this word before, halogens? Yes, no? If you know, ठीक है, but if you haven't, I'll tell you what it is. So let me, what are halogens?
Yes, ma'am, we have come across that.
You have, okay. So what are halogens?
Ma'am, it is a group in the periodic table.
हाँ, तो उस ग्रुप में कौन से एलिमेंट्स होंगे?
Fluorine, chlorine, bromide, iodine.
Yes. So this family of elements, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. So then collectively, you call it the halogen family. You call them the halogens. Okay, like you have, I don't know, the Mehtas, the Khans, that way the Kardashians and all. That way this particular family is called, they're the halogens. It's a halogen family. The reason why they have, like we call them a family, is because all of their properties are very, very similar. So the kind of reactions they undergo, all of that you can predict very easily. They'll only differ in how reactive they are, but otherwise their valency, type of compound, all of that are the same. That's why you call them this family. Okay, nice, excellent. So because of these two properties, carbon is capable of catenation, and its tetravalency enables it to form a wide variety of compounds. So because of catenation, forms compounds with its own self, like long chains of carbon. That's why DNA, life, all that is possible. And tetravalency, different types of bonds, so it can form compounds with many different elements. Okay. Cool. So what in this chapter, like that is the reason organic chemistry is a whole branch of it. So remember I mentioned that, we'll be grouping all of these different compounds, to make our study easier. So the first type of carbon compounds we'll be talking about, they are called hydrocarbons. So what are hydrocarbons?
They just contain hydrogen and carbon.
Correct. So any compound, if you see that it has only carbon plus hydrogen only, so that compound comes under hydrocarbon. Like for example, CH4 methane, you guys have come across earlier. There's only carbon and hydrogen in it, so that's a type of hydrocarbon. Now, because carbon is capable of forming all these different bonds, depending on what covalent bond it's forming, there are different types of hydrocarbons. So if there's only single bonds, it's called some, like that particular family of compounds or that group of compounds are called alkanes. So this is only single bond. And if there's at least one double bond, It's not only double bond, minimum one double bond. So this type of compound are called alkenes. The rest of them and all can be single bonds, but minimum one double bond. If it has minimum one double bond, they're called alkenes. And if there's minimum of one triple bond, if there's even a single triple bond in that compound, so that particular type of group of compounds are called alkynes. If it has single bonds only, then that's alkanes. If there's minimum one of double or triple bond, they will come under alkenes or alkynes. So apart from these, you also have aromatic compounds. So aromatic hydrocarbon is benzene derivative. So benzene is the simplest compound, and benzene along with more number of carbon atoms, like they're all aromatic. So this, there is something called aromatic nature that needs to be present. And benzene basically has a ring structure. Yeah. So this we'll not be discussing. You don't have to worry about it. I just want you guys to be aware of the fact that, you know, we talked about straight chain, long chain, branch chain and all, right? So alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, they basically usually have straight chains. Can be small, it can be long, depending on the number of carbon atoms. Ring structure, an example is benzene. So its formula is C6H6, and its structure is, it basically looks like this. So it's a hexagonal structure. And remaining valency of carbon is fulfilled by hydrogen. Okay. Now you'll see that the way I've written, I've left these bonds incomplete. So basically, just to show, like alkanes, it's not that there's only one carbon atom. It can be, you can have multiple carbon atoms also. You can make up your own compound. But, you know, if I draw something like this, so many carbon atoms, it contains only carbon and hydrogen. It can even have branches, for example. So if the rest of it is all hydrogen, can you guess what type of compound, what type of hydrocarbon this is?
Alkane.
There you go. Correct. So it can have any number of carbon atoms, but if it has carbon, hydrogen only, and it has only single bonds, then that makes it an alkane. And for alkene, not necessary that all of it should be double bond. It should have minimum one double bond. So this particular compound, it has one double bond. So this becomes an alkene. See, I have not changed anything else, like number of carbon atoms, the whole structure, everything is the same. Just that instead of all single bonds, I've made it so there is one double bond. So that's why this becomes an alkene. So if there's even one double bond, it becomes an alkene. And similarly, even if there's like one triple bond, it becomes an alkyne. So these are the different types of hydrocarbons. Okay. So apart from carbon, hydrogen, I also mentioned that carbon is capable, like hydrogen ke saath hydrocarbons are there. Now, what about the compounds containing the rest of the elements? So apart from that, you also have compounds containing oxygen, compounds containing nitrogen, halogens, all of that. So they also have specific names. You have alcohols, carboxylic acid. One of these you're very, very familiar with. Do you guys remember acetic acid? You've dealt with it quite a bit, reactions and all.
CO.
Yes.
What is the
CH3COOH.
correct? So this is an organic acid. It's an organic compound. Would you classify this under alkanes, alkenes, alkynes?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
It's got
It
oxygen.
has oxygen.
Yeah. So this is something we call a carboxylic acid. And this is just one group of compound. So apart from that, you have alcohols, you have aldehydes, you have ketones, you have amine, you have ether, you have ester. Like there's a lot of different types of compounds. That's the whole reason we study organic chemistry separately. But don't worry about all of these. Just to give you a hint, I've just put these down. But yeah, if I take acetic acid, iska in detail structure, it basically looks like this. So you have carbon, CH3 is basically C with 3 hydrogens, then bonded to this particular C. If I expand the COOH part of it, this is how it is. So carbon has a double bond with one oxygen and single bond with another oxygen and H over here. So all of the valencies are fulfilled. Oxygen has 2 bonds, 2 single bonds here. Each of the carbon has 4 bonds around it. All of the hydrogen has single bond around it. But yeah, this is like the expanded structure of this acetic acid, ethanoic acid. Okay, so all the atoms that are there other than carbon and hydrogen. So in this case, this whole group, so this part of the compound, so these atoms, like any atom other than hydrogen and carbon, so they are called heteroatoms. Again, think of it logically, like you guys are familiar with homogeneous, heterogeneous, right? Homo, hetero, you've come across quite a few times. Hetero ka matlab not uniform. So you have hydrocarbons, which has carbon and hydrogen. Anything other than that, so something that's like a discrepancy. So those atoms are called heteroatoms. So carboxylic acid mein the heteroatoms are these oxygen atoms. Okay. So whenever a carbon compound has heteroatoms, this whole arrangement that defines that compound. Now, because this particular structure is there, because the COOH part is there, it makes this everything else acidic. Now, because it's defining it, it's changing the function of it. You know, the whole properties are changing because of it. So that particular part is called a functional group. Okay, so if we had to write the definition of it, functional group are basically, it's an atom, could be a single atom like halogen, or it can be a group of atoms like OOH, COOH. So an atom or a group of atoms that are responsible for all the properties. So all the properties, matlab, both physical and chemical properties. Of the compound. Okay. So depending on what functional group is there in the compound, you end up having a different type of compound. So all of these, alcohol, aldehyde, ketone, amine, these are all examples of functional groups. Like for example, alcohol is basically if it has this sort of a structure, not the double bond O, just OH. So if you have like carbon, 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 and then OH makes it an alcohol. Aldehyde similarly, instead of single bond O, if it has a double bond O, then that makes it an aldehyde. Ketone is similar, has a double bond O. Yeah. So tomorrow, day after, what we'll be doing is we'll dig deeper into your hydrocarbons, like properties of alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, and we'll also have an introduction to functional groups. Like for now, just understand, like get familiar with these terms, hydrocarbon, functional group, heteroatoms, and all of that. Tomorrow we'll dig deeper, we'll explore what all different functional groups are there, and we'll talk about the isomerism, structure of each of these functional groups and all of that. Okay. So tomorrow and day after, yeah. So we'll spend some time on these basics. And apart from that, in your syllabus, you have a single alcohol, which is ethanol, and a single carboxylic acid, acetic acid only. So you have preparation and properties in detail. We'll look at like a few reactions of how they behave and what is their importance and all of that. All right. So for now, guys, how does it feel? Are you able to follow